Good afternoon, everybody. Jason Gruenauer here from Denver 7, along with the man of the hour and the weekend, I guess, Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson. We're going to talk everything about this upcoming winter storm. So, Mike, let's just dive right in. What is the latest on this ever-changing beast of a storm moving its way towards and into Colorado?
It's a big storm, Jason, and it's going to be a big storm for a lot of areas. Just the question is going to be which areas. And the latest data has given me a little pause on how badly Denver is really going to get hammered with the storm. Now, I'm talking, we'll still probably see a foot of snow, but that's a big difference from 2 feet or 30 inches here in the city of Denver. Foothills, especially parts of Boulder County, Larimer County, still looking at 2 to 4 feet of snow. And up into Wyoming, they now have a blizzard warning in effect up around Cheyenne. Most of southeast Wyoming, they may catch the brunt of this. You'll note on this graphic, there's an area on the north side of Denver that looks less, up toward the Lock Buoy area and up around Fort Morgan. And that's an area of question. We'll wonder how much that might come down as very wet snow or snow and rain mixed, which could limit the totals in those areas. But I want to stress that we haven't had a flake of snowfall yet, and the storm is still about 350 miles away. So it's got to move in from Arizona, come across the Four Corners area, go across a whole lot of mountains, and then finally get out onto the eastern plains. And that's a lot of work for a storm. You think about if you want to traverse a couple of mountain ranges, you're probably going to be pretty beat up by the time you're on the other side. And so sometimes these storms come off the mountains, get onto the plains, and they can be a little surprising. So don't give up hope, snow lovers. There's still a chance.
So the timeline of this storm has really changed. We were considering, going all hands on deck here at this station around this time just a few days ago. So it definitely slowed down. I know it had a lot of mileage to get out of it, but it slowed now to the point where the timeline of this snow has changed.
Yeah, it has. And that's not unusual. This is a big wave in the atmosphere that's coming off the Pacific coast, and it comes in, and we don't have as much data out over the ocean because we don't have surface weather stations. We have some ships, but we don't have the weather balloons and stuff. So once it gets on shore, you do get a better handle on how this big wave in the atmosphere is going to move and change with time. But, it's still predicting the future, and that hasn't happened yet. And so until we get that storm really right here along the Front Range across the Eastern Plains, which will be tomorrow, that looks like that's where we're going to start to see our better chances of snow. Now, I see Rhonda here has said, how about the Colorado Springs area? And a few days ago, it looked like this storm might dump a lot of snow on Colorado Springs, and now that's looking less likely. They're probably looking at just a few inches of snow there. It will be more of a Monument Hill to the north, and then especially up toward the Cheyenne Ridge up in Wyoming, they'll see the heavier snows.
Well, I see a question popping in. Albert asked, am I going to need to buy toilet paper or not? There was a rush on some grocery stores. We saw those empty shelves. A lot of people preparing for the worst. We've been telling people throughout the week these numbers are going to change, but especially with this latest model and how much the Metro Denver city is going to get, the big question I'm sure a lot of people have is, why did this change so much?
Well, it's a matter of a subtle little thing in the track of a storm that make a big difference. It's a little bit like if you're kicking the game-winning field goal and you would, from 55 yards out, everything is perfect, but for some reason you address that ball that much off to the side, the ball's wide, you miss the field goal and you lose the Super Bowl. Well, in this case, I don't think it's going to be that serious. So we'll have a storm, but the atmosphere is exceedingly complicated, and a little change in how the winds aloft up at the jet stream are blowing can make a difference in how that storm tracks. That's why, if you think back, we had a big storm in 2003. We had a big storm in 1997. We had a big storm in 1992. And we had, of course, the Christmas Eve storm in 1982. That's over 40 years. That's 4 storms. There's plenty of other storms during that time that, well, for instance, there was a giant storm in 1983 that nobody remembers because it missed Denver and it dumped all the heavy snow from Watkins out in the eastern part of the Denver metro area across the Northeast Plains. So a lot of big storms out there. It's just, do they focus on the area that people will remember them to tell their grandchildren? There's still a chance that this one could be a historic storm. And again, I say it hasn't snowed a flake yet, but some of the signs I'm looking at make me less encouraged than I was 24 or 36 hours ago.
Well, I see a question popping in there. Will is going to be traveling. So when we're talking about I-25, that corridor, and then I-70, obviously I-70, you're dealing with everything from the Eastern Plains to the Metro to the mountains. But which one of those is going to be the worst and the most treacherous based on where we think the worst is going to end up landing?
Will, I appreciate your work, and be safe out there. And here's what I'll tell you. You won't have any trouble getting over Monument Hill tonight. And even tomorrow morning, you'll be in pretty good shape. Later in the day tomorrow, that's when things really start to get busy around here, and especially after about 2 in the afternoon. By this time tomorrow afternoon, we should have some pretty decent snow falling here. So if you can get your route done tonight, early tomorrow morning, you'll be in great shape. And as a trucker, will you be very glad you're not running the I-80 route up in Wyoming with this storm?
Well, we just want to take a quick second also to remind all those people who are watching us live right now, we do have a 24/7 local weather stream on our Denver 7 channel for your favorite streaming platform. You just got to search Denver 7 on your Roku or similar device, open that up, local weather. It's like having Mike Nelson like in your Roku. It's amazing. You can just turn them on and the live radar and everything that you need to know. Okay, so I'm curious, when the snow starts falling, are we going to be talking about that frigid 0-degree snow, that the wind that just whips in your face and hurts? Is it just going to be, nice, almost holiday snow that just comes down? Are we going to talk about visibility, blizzards? What kind of a storm is it going to look like, Mike?
By tomorrow evening, it's going to be big, heavy, wet flakes of snow. This is going to be a warmer storm. Temperatures tomorrow will be in the mid 30s early, and then drop into the 28 to 32 degree range for tomorrow night and Sunday morning. So that's a wet, heavy snow. Good for making snowmen, lousy for shoveling because it weighs a lot. And even up into the mountains, it's going to be a little heavier than the dry powder that we love to ski and snowboard on, but it is mid-March. You expect that. I see Lucy's question about what time in the metro. I think by early afternoon tomorrow, we'll start to see the snow pick up. And by tomorrow evening, probably the heaviest snow will be 6 o'clock tomorrow night till about noon on Sunday. And again, although my spidey sense after doing this and looking at storms for 40 years is that I'm less impressed with the odds of this being a really historic storm, it's not here yet. And I have seen them sometimes zig when they were going to zag. So Jesse in Brighton and Thornton, I'd say 8 to 10 inches of snow, but it'd be wet and heavy, and some of that's going to kind of mush down. You could be golfing Sunday in Pueblo, but I think it'll be a windy day, Rufino. So, but yeah, they're not going to see nearly as much snow out of this down to the south of us because the storm is tracking a little bit further north, and the blizzard warnings are in effect across southeastern Wyoming because it now looks like that storm is trending just a little bit further north. So likely folks in Cheyenne and Laramie will be talking about, wow, this really was a big storm. I remember the storm in March of 21. Estes Park, Charlie, could get hit pretty good. I'm looking, they might see 36 inches up in Estes Park.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we can get that snow totals graphic back up just for a moment, because I know we've been talking to you throughout the week about these upslope storms and things like that. Can I just, as a very, I'm not a meteorologist. I just usually stand out in this snow as it's coming down. Why the colors where they are? Like, why is Estes Park going to get hit so hard and not the Denver area, given the track of this storm and what it's expected to do?
When you see that big red L on the weather map, the low pressure system, the air around the low swirls in a counterclockwise direction. And so if we put that big red L down over southeastern Colorado, say south of Lyman, the winds around it into the Denver area and along the Front Range are coming in from the east or northeast. And that wind flow forces the air to rise as it pushes up against the foothills and the mountains. Rising air tends to cool, the moisture condenses out, and you get rain or snow. I always like to say, if you were walking up a mountain with a couple of buckets full of water, the first thing you want to do is drop the buckets of water because they'd be heavy and hard to bring up the mountain. And so Mother Nature kind of does this same thing, drops all the moisture on that side of the mountain. Now, if you think about a Chinook wind that we talk about in the wintertime, when you have that dry, westerly wind that comes whipping down into the Boulder area. When air moves downhill, it compresses a little bit as it goes down into higher air pressure. And think about when you pump up a bicycle, the pump gets warm because of the compression of the air. So ascending air tends to warm up and dry out. Ascending air, upslope air, tends to cool and condense the moisture out. So this is going to be an upslope storm. Matter of fact, some areas west of the Continental Divide will probably be partly cloudy at the same time that we're getting snow here. One of our photographers remembered back in the 2003 March storm. He and his wife were in Glenwood Springs. It was a beautiful 50-degree day, partly cloudy, while Denver was getting 3 or 4 feet of snow.
So when we talk about that, and you talk about the western side of the Continental Divide, when we're talking about getting up into the mountains and everybody says storm, oh my goodness, perfect powder day, skiing weather. We'll talk about travel in a second, but actually the amount of moisture that is going to end up in some of our ski resorts is going to be what?
It will be less. Now, we're still looking pretty decent snow. They're under winter storm warnings in Summit County and up around Winter Park. So they'll get snow. They'll probably get 8 to 10 inches of snow. But the misconception oftentimes is, gee, if Denver gets a foot of snow, Vail and Aspen got to get 3. And that doesn't always work. I did get the note from our friend up in Blackhawk, and I'd gotten an email earlier today from you as well, Randy. Thank you. And we are looking at pretty decent snows up there. I'd say Blackhawk probably look at maybe 20 inches, maybe a little bit more, and maybe a few more, just a bit up higher the hill in Central City. I always like to say we're betting on snow for Blackhawk in Central City. Be here all week. Cheyenne, Mary, might be looking more at about 25, 30 inches of snow up there and a lot of wind. It's going to be a rough go going up there in southeast Wyoming. And Sarah, for Loveland to Lyons over the weekend, tomorrow morning's fine. Sunday morning's not good. Monday morning's not very good.
And that's a big thing that a lot of local officials have been putting out there for days. If you have to travel somewhere, do it tonight, because Mike, we're not even talking about wet roads even for tonight, depending on where you are, of course.
The one thing we might see a little bit, Jason, folks need to be careful of, is there could be a little bit of freezing drizzle later tonight. I think the main surface roads are going to be okay, but where you're going to run into some trouble is going to be on bridges and ramps, because they have air going underneath them, and that cools the road surface faster. And so you might be just doing fine on the highway and get on an off ramp, and watch out for that later on tonight. That can sneak up on you.
But overall, regardless of whether it's a foot or 2 feet or 3 feet, we need the moisture. So this is a good thing at the end of the day.
Look, it's March. We get big storms in March and April. We're in the middle of a drought. We need the moisture, so that's a good thing. And it's a weekend. I mean, it's not like you really necessarily have to do anything or worry about closures. And heck, we've been closed down for a year, so a lot of folks are working from home anyway. I'd say enjoy the storm. Just, part of the reason I got into weather when I was a little kid is I love watching storms. So for those of you that are like not happy with me because I'm kind of backing off a little bit of my expectation, believe you me, I'm just as disappointed as you are. I was looking forward to a big one. And I've got my snow stake outside, got a special one with a Bronco helmet on it that I got right after the March 2003 storm, and I wanted to see that thing get buried. So I'm still hopeful, but I'm also realistic.
And of course, stick with Mike Nelson throughout the weekend here on Denver 7. He's going to be working all kinds of overtime. I know that they've said it in the past in other warm weather states. You can tell when it's a serious storm, like a hurricane, when the meteorologist starts losing the jacket and then eventually they lose their tie. So Mike Nelson, it might be a leave the jacket on the side, but keep the tie on.
Can I do one quick thing here, Jace, before we go?
Sure.
Says I've been working out of my basement since March of last year. I'm pretty proud of my little home weather station. I'm going to give everybody a little quick tour. Okay, so behind me, that's my computer system right there, where I'm working everything on. I have the radar and everything. I'm watching Channel 7 over here. These are my monitors back here. Sorry for the shaky video. I'm trying to do this by hand. The green screen is behind me there. Over here is the ever famous map wall where I keep all my charts and everything. And outside the window over there, those are cords that go to the Honda generator that we brought out here just in case. And that's my power supply for all that. And back over there is the cameras and everything. So That's a look at the Nelson basement and the Family Weather Center right there.
A look behind the scenes at Denver 7's chief meteorologist, Mike Nelson, and the setup all year. Mike, always a pleasure to chat with you. You're going to be working hard all weekend. We are on live at 4, 5, 6, 8 o'clock on Local 3, 10 o'clock tonight on Denver 7. We start off the morning, Lisa Hidalgo, Stacy Donaldson, Katie LaSalle, Mike Nelson. We have our 24/7 weather stream. We are always on and on demand on the Denver 7 channel for your favorite streaming device. There is no shortage of places that you can get your local weather. We'll have to do this again, Mike. This was a blast. I learned a ton. Thanks so much for your time.
This is fun. Folks, stay safe out there. Be understanding. I mean, especially the plow drivers and stuff, they work really hard. And kudos to you and everybody else at the station doing some really great work. Some of our technical people that have set all of this remote broadcasting stuff up are just great. And, there's an awful lot of behind the scenes folks that work really hard to make sure that we can present all the information to you. So everybody stay safe, and we will do this again over the weekend. This was fun.
We'll see you on TV. Mike Nelson, thanks so much.